I'm not sure if you can see us.
Can you see us?
Hello.
Oh, they're waving, they're waving.
Welcome. I'm introducing to you now this panel. Actually, they're going to introduce themselves, but it's a really interesting panel I'm looking forward to, moderated by Kris. And it's a panel on developing wellness and self-esteem for women and girls with the help of water and surfing. Give them a round of applause, please. Thank you so much.
Wait. Hello, what a treat. Thank you for waking up so early in California. Good morning over there. And for everybody else, I think Australia is about to go to sleep right now. I think it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So before, we're gonna show a very special video, but beforehand, I would like to ask these extraordinary women to please introduce themselves. And let's do alphabetical order because that's easy. So go, alphabetically. Well, first name alphabetically.
All right. My name is Asha. Oh, I can hear echo. That's a little weird. Nice to meet everybody. I am currently a UCSB student. I'm working with It Girl. I've been working with It Girl and Malls for about or over a year now, and I think that's everything.
Good morning. My name is Marialida. Marcotulli. People know me as Malls. I'm the founder of It Girl. I'm really happy to be on this panel, and thank you, Kris, for putting this together.
Malls.
My name is Sachi, Cunningham, and I'm a photographer, filmmaker, and professor of multimedia journalism at San Francisco State University.
Woo! All right, can we show Sachi's video, please?
When my mom had cancer, we never talked about it at all. When my mom was 45, I was 15 years old and a sophomore in high school. She was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. So in my junior year, when I was 19, she passed away. I mean, she was very adamant about me not stopping to, you know, slow down my life for her. She wanted me to just keep going.
I have this gene, and, you know, at the exact same time it made a tumor in my mom, it's making a tumor in me. And
I decided to have a double mastectomy and a total hysterectomy.
Watch this, Mommy.
okay, no.
I had Nami 3 weeks before my 40th birthday. She swims, she dives, she does it all. She's 4.5, and she loves the water as much as I do, I think. It was really important for me to be very open about it with my friends and strangers. You know, we just treated it more like chronic illness. I mean, that's what's amazing about cancer these days, is that you can survive. The ocean has been a major part of my treatment. It's just raw and wild out there. All you know is that what comes next might kill you, but you learn how to keep your mind and body calm in those situations and turn it into something magic and beautiful. And I think that's how I've tried to approach this diagnosis.
That is the real gift of cancer, and if you can survive it, is life is just so much more beautiful. I have this gene that has been killing my family for generations and generations.
Those of you who don't know Sachi, she's many things. She's a photographer, journalist, filmmaker, and she'll talk a little bit about her cancer journey this year and other stuff. So just my pleasure to introduce Sachi.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much.
I wanted to normalize it, you know? Everyone's been touched by cancer in some way, I think.
I lost my mom lost her dad. You know, I don't know how far back there's been death at a young age, which means a kid suffering. I feel very fortunate to be this first generation that is living. Could have been a whole lot worse, and Nami could be without a mother. I would like Nami to also have the experience of feeling at home in the ocean and joy in the ocean and me. Yesterday we were diving under the waves together but holding on to each other, and so I know I was giving her that added security, and I'd like it to be a memory that she holds on to and can draw from when she's in the water. Nami means wave in Japanese. She's my lifelong wave.
Sachi, I know we just saw a Cliff Notes version of your powerful story. Thank you for being vulnerable, and also thank you for educating us. Another thing that some of us were just learning, that women who have babies can carry a gene that can take them. So Sachi, thank you so much for that. Besides all of you making the world just a brighter and safer place to be because of your inclusion, the other common thread, sorry, whose idea was this to have me moderate? The other common thread you beautiful women have is the loss of your mothers. Could you please share with us how losing your mom shaped who you are today and precisely how the ocean helped you heal? And Asha, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I lost my mother to breast cancer when I was like barely just like a really young baby, so I never really had the pleasure of knowing her, but she was a surfer and an artist, and when I started surfing, like when I really started surfing on my own and making a practice in my life, I surf her surfboard. I still surf her surfboard, so I feel like that's a really beautiful way of connecting with this woman who gave me life, and so that's been very therapeutic and beautiful to me. So I feel like I'm taking a little piece of her out whenever I take it out.
Asha. Woo. Malls, how about you?
Oh, thank you, Kris. Asha, so beautiful. I knew, as you know, I knew your mother. My mother and I have had a long journey. We both came to the Bay Area. She always wanted to pursue a higher education, but didn't have the opportunity. When she passed away from bladder cancer almost more than a decade ago, I decided to go back and get my master's and PhD, and I dedicated my thesis to her. She supported me so much in all of my endeavors, especially With It Girl, and especially my journey to going surfing. I feel like she's in the room right now, and she's so excited to be part of this panel in spirit. So thank you.
Sachi, we got to hear a little bit, but would you share with us today in your own words?
Yeah, my mom, she had breast cancer when I was born, and then had ovarian cancer when I was in high school, and then she passed away when she was 49. And I was in college, and actually the anniversary of her 29th anniversary death was just, and I like to always go in the ocean on that day, and it was, as it always is, it always ends up being a magical session. There was absolutely nobody out in the water. I went out with a new friend. We were body surfing. Just actually my two best friends, guy friends in the neighborhood, happened to be out in the water. And then one other person that came out that was a woman who I'd never seen before. And it's very rare to see a woman out there. So it's just kind of like and the sky literally parted. And I think just keeping my eyes open for magic like that has been part of what her passing has given me. Say in the film, it just does make life that much more beautiful when you are, given a tragedy that compels you to see life in a new way.
Thank you, Sachi. So much of our conference has been around building trust. Sorry, I'm sitting here wiping my nose, but the conversations have been around, of course, mental health and a global pandemic that exacerbates the need for mental health support. And there have been studies out there, 60% of those surveyed are saying since COVID-19, they have seen a massive decline in their mental health and suffered, significantly. Surf therapy, of course, is destigmatizing the words around mental health. But I'm curious, because we have different generations that are represented today. Can you each describe how your generation viewed, present tense, and or currently viewed the words mental health? That is, how much of your time in a classroom was spent on understanding your own mental health? So Moles, we'll start with you.
So growing up for me, I grew up in Caracas, Venezuela, and I came and I was educated in the United States. Mental health was seen as something you didn't talk about, and it was something that was sort of hidden. And the moment that it was exposed, it meant that something was really wrong with you, that you, in a certain way, couldn't be trusted, which is such a shame, because even for me personally, to get to a therapist and begin a process of recovery was very long and complicated. Sitting today, and Asha and I, as we started With It Girl a year ago, and we brought together a lot of this new younger generation, they are much more willing to talk about it. And we even put together an art project where one of the girls actually started reframing the concept of mental health for herself and what it means to be a healthy, or to pursue wellness in a certain sense. And so in a certain sense, for me, this new generation has even given my generation some courage around new language. And so I am so incredibly grateful. They've asked me to step up, and at the same time, I'm able also to support their own journey. Thank you.
Evolving. I hope we're always evolving. I hope we always want to be learning, especially from our younger generation. Sachi, how about you? Uh-oh. Yeah, Sachi, we can't hear you. Oh, there you are. Oh. Sorry, we missed. Okay. I'm sure it was brilliant. Can you repeat it? You were brilliant. Please repeat it. We missed all of it. Sorry, Sachi.
No problem. Well, your time was spent in a classroom, and no time was spent in the classroom learning about it, but I have spent plenty of therapist's office and in a mental hospital thinking about it. And that's because I was diagnosed with bipolar 1 after my mom was in between, right around her death, right before it. And also suffered from depression. She was in the incarceration center during World War II and spent the first 4 years there, and came back to a very racist California where they weren't accepted, and yet, you know, was this quote unquote model minority, and had come through that, gotten a scholarship, valedictorian, you know, homecoming queen. So I mean, her for me was to just persevere. Certainly learned how to persevere. But when she got cancer the second time, for ovarian cancer, she went through a depression, and I saw that, and we never named it, but it's very clear when you see that. And she saw that in hindsight, that me to under there's modalities of you know, healing. But I think when she died, your previous question about what your mother's passing had given to you, I think it also forced me to find faith. And I'm not a particularly religious person. I did grow up in an Episcopal church, but I think that, you know, we know that therapy is somatically, I mean, surfing gives us a somatic healing, but I think it also definitely provided that spiritual healing that I needed. And I'm very open. I was very close. I did not talk about my mental health from the advice of professors, because 20 years ago, I'm a stigma around. But I'm very open about it, and I teach at San Diego State. I actually tell of my students about myself, because I know that at their age, they're all a lot of times it's going to start expressing itself, and school is stressful, and I just use it as an opportunity to acknowledge that, see how they're taking care of themselves. And actually, I was on sabbatical last year and missed a year of Zoom U, but given the health challenges of the pandemic, all three of my classes, the kind of that were in the journalism and the beat, that all doing stories around is mental health, and it's amazing open the students are talking about it, and it's really warming. Actually, it gives me hope that they're just they're open about it. And then I see them connecting and sharing, and it's bringing them closer, I think, so that I can continue that practice.
Absolutely. Your internet connection isn't as perfect, but we caught that, and I promise the Polynesian princesses felt very spiritual out in the water surfing, and there's a piece of that, and the idea of hope. There's surf therapy programs out there that are delivering surf therapy and quite literally creating hope for our participants. So I love that part. Asha, can you share with us about your generation? We're looking for you, and you know, you as leaders in the world now.
Yeah, I think our generation is definitely taking a step forward. I mean, my high school, quite literally, we did meditation every morning, which I actually thought was very beneficial, and I thought, like, really rad. Yeah. I was fortunate to go to a very small high school, so that's not indicative of every high school experience, but I think that, like, even in our college, which is a big public university, people talk about mental health a lot, especially teachers, professors, and there's a lot of resources on campus, which is great. Also, I think, yeah, just being in the water really helps a lot of people. Our campus, I don't know if people know where Santa Barbara is, but it's right on the beach. So everybody here is very active. Everybody bikes, gets in the water, runs around. And I think that helps a lot as like a whole. So I think there's definitely a move towards like understanding the connected nature of like being outside and being active and having that opportunity and mental health in students, especially here.
I'm going to put this on blast. Santa Barbara has Rincon, which is by far one of the most famous surf breaks in Southern California. Sorry, Santa Barbara Rincon locals, I just messed you up there. But another thing all of you have in common is that you're storytellers. So utilizing different platforms, of course. I like to ask, what are you hoping resonates with people out there, specifically women and girls and those who identify with that gender through your platforms? Why are you sharing your intimate pieces of your life? What's motivating you and what are you hoping resonates? Sachi.
I think I hope what resonates to encourage other people to be in touch with and speak there, to not be afraid of who they are, and yeah, to be vulnerable, because it's only through those moments of vulnerability that we become connected, I think, can break down barriers.
Woo, Asha.
I have always been in the water since I was a baby, but I was always really against surfing until I had like other women and girls who would surf with me, and it totally changed my life. Surfing changed my life for the better. So I really want to provide that sense of just ability to get in the water and that comfortability and having that community to a wider range of people. Like, I think I know so many people who, you know, are like, oh, like surfing seems cool, or like getting in the water, I'd love to get in the ocean, but like, oh, I don't feel like I really belong there, or like I'm not very good at surfing, so I can't go out, or, you know, they have these limiting reasons why they can't go out. And I think creating that environment where it feels safe to get in the water, just to try it out and see if it's something that you like, is really important, especially so that more women and girls and people who have been traditionally excluded from the water can be involved in the sport.
We talked about that earlier. It really is hard to imagine that you can be it when you don't see it. And that's missing in media. And I'm not going to get into the statistics of how very little women are represented in sports. In the media, it's like less than 4% of TV ads, newspapers, magazines. It's embarrassing. So thank you for being a role model for our young girls out there. And us old girls, I didn't start surfing until I was 41. I needed to see other women, so thank you for that. Moles, how about you?
I started with a girl in around 1996. And when I was looking out at the landscape of the action sports, I saw that what was being happened and portrayed is either you were a jock or you were a babe. And I was wondering where all the other 99% of girls are, and that they weren't being represented as full people, as artists and surfers and skaters and mothers. And so I wanted to reframe a lot of those stories and bring forward the fullness of an individual. And so we did that about 20 years ago. And then when Asha reapproached me to relaunch the platform, it was still very relevant to bring all these stories back up. And so I hope that the platform offers an opportunity that there is a step in for everybody, and that you don't need to be that 1% sort of person or girl. You can be yourself. And that is a very wide and varied, individuals are wide and how do you say, they have many different interests that inform their surfing or their skateboarding or their art. So the other thing that I wanted to do was to allow more young women and also older women to have their own platform to publish their own stories. So we have, you know, young girls from the ages of 15 all the way to women in their 60s that are publishing. And I think that that's very important, that there are more platforms for women to publish professionally. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We have some people in my generation out here doing surf therapy, whether you're watching or whether you're here in the audience. So please, please reach out to Moles, because she is always looking for fabulous individuals to spotlight. And especially, there's some writers in the room as well, so we'd love to include you on that. Moles, thank you for doing that. We're so grateful. I read this a really long time ago. I promise I'm going somewhere with it. I had read once that men's greatest fear is to be embarrassed in public. Women's greatest fear, does anybody know? It's to be killed by a man. If that doesn't scream oppression, I don't actually know what does, in the sense of violence and death and what some women have to learn when they're growing up. You know, you don't walk at night alone. How many of you women take your keys out and walk to your car and you keep the key in between because it becomes a weapon or needs to become a weapon? So I promise I'm going somewhere with that. I'm asking these three beautiful women, if you can name a situation, it might be surfing, but as a woman, when you might have felt oppressed, and whether it's in the workspace and or in the play space, I'm really interested to highlight that. Asha, how about you?
I'm muted. Hello. Yeah, I think I've been very fortunate in my life to not experience a lot of like gender-based violence. I'm very privileged in my whiteness and my thinness, you know, whatever it is. I also pretty much put myself in situations where I'm surrounded by women most of the time, but I surf very women-dominated spots. Like I tend to just surround myself with women, but I definitely think like there's lots of oppression of women happening in the water all the time. It's definitely a new sphere for women. So I have definitely, like, even in my own, I think it's also about like decolonizing my own brain. Like I'll be out in the water thinking, you know, I'll be like, oh, like I could drop in on that girl, like she'll probably not get that wave, and I would never do that to a guy. So it's definitely about like seeing, you know, the sexism in my own self too, and like readjusting it because it's so ingrained in everyone's minds. So I think that's like a really interesting note to like think about and like take note of your own, you know, things that are happening. I think that's been a big process for me of like, oh, like just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that I'm not sexist to other women. Like I have to really think about that in my own self. So yeah.
I was thinking about that at your age. I'm still evolving, Asha. I hope to be more like you. I said this yesterday, that I don't ever want somebody to give me a wave because I'm a girl, but don't take my wave because I'm a girl. And that idea of thinking about how, when I'm in the lineup, how I treat men in the lineup versus how I treat women. I feel like for the most part, women cheer each other on. But, you know, anyway, that's another story. Moles, how about you?
So growing up in South America, and because I was white, there was always, my parents were very worried for us to being kidnapped or being assaulted. So we led a very sheltered life. When I came up to the United States, my mother really wanted us to be up here because we had a little bit more freedom. But I also learned very quickly that being kind of a girl kind of meant, and this is so unfortunate, like my family would say, oh, well, you'll just marry well. Like you don't have to really worry about your education. Well, I never married. And I thought that that was actually a really awful thing to say to a girl because it's basically saying, well, you're kind of dumb. And I think that that's why, for me, I really pursued continuing my education, even though I wasn't the smartest one in the room, but I was the most persistent one. And that was the same thing that I brought to the water. It took me a really long time to learn to surf, and I just really stuck with it. Another thing, when I was learning to surf, I learned to surf when I was 36, so I'm 58 right now. There wasn't as much of a community. And so I had to be very careful about leaving the water early enough so it wasn't too dark. I was objectified somewhat in the water. If you were more attractive, you know, you kind of got more waves. And I thought that was a little strange. But I also, you know, traveled by myself in my car. So I had to always have a plan. Nowadays, it's really nice to see so many more women around in the parking lots and everything else. So you feel, I feel a lot safer than I did, like maybe even just 20 years ago. So that's a really great improvement. And yeah, I think that's all I need to say about that.
Great. Woo! Iski in our last session had asked us to kind of change the narrative on normalization. And I very much would like to change mostly those who identify as women and girls to stop starting sentences with sorry. All of you do it, and I've heard you. I get emails that start every email with sorry. Saying sorry for something that you did not intentionally mean to hurt someone means that you think the space you're taking up is intrusive or is bothering somebody. Unless you really, really, really hurt me, you don't need to apologize for the space you take up because you're a beautiful person. You also don't need to be attached to another person to be validated. So moles, I'm sorry that generations before us sort of thought that, but just so you know, there are regions in the world, very much so, where women are still being taught without being married, you are not necessarily as significant, and we're going to change that in surf therapy. So thank you. Sachi, how about you? Any oppression? You've been in the lineup and taking photos, big waves at Mavericks. Share with us.
Well, your sorry comment is funny because I just yesterday stopped myself in an email of men, traditional study, from saying sorry. As I opened with sorry. And it was because I was asking for something, and I was asking for it for the third time. And, but it had been 2 weeks and I still still don't have the answer. But I stopped myself. Thank you for that reminder. As far as oppression, I think that ironically, in general, has been an arena where I have felt both oppression and, of course, the strength to move and overcome that and be on the right side of that. But just from the very first sports I did, I did gymnastics when I was 5, and I quit when I was 6 because of the way a coach was touching me, and that felt yucky and uncomfortable, and he touched all the girls like that. I told my parents about, I wanted to quit, and they asked why I wanted to quit. And I told them that was why. And they told the coach, they told the owners of this gym, and they weren't the first parents, fortunately, that had voiced something. And this coach got fired, but I quit and I went on to swimming. I also did cross country in high school, and our cross country coach asked the one other girl on our there were only 2 women on the team at that point, and he constantly asking her out on a date, and I told my parents about that, and they also got him fired. And then, of course, in surfing, I am currently making a documentary called She, which is about 4 of the best female big wave surfers in the world to get paid equally, asking for a place in competitive surfing, and also getting paid equally. And so, I think all of them I know have gotten they've devoted their lives to it, and I'm sure that it brings them their greatest joy, as it does me. But it's also, this place of oppression, and it's this place where they have to ask for what they want and have developed the strength and tools to get what they want and do what they want. So it's also been a place of triumph. So I guess the moral of the story is to, ask what you want, ask what, and that's that, your previous question about why I tell stories, I think that's one of the takeaways of this story. But everything is nuanced, and just one place of trauma can also be a place of rebirth, and to be open to those those nuance changes and growth.
Woo! We have to quite literally break ground in order for big change to occur. So thanks for making that happen. She Change, when that comes out, everybody go see this. It will be the first ever professional sports where females are paid the same as men. Why is this taking so long? 2021. Sachi, thank you for highlighting all of those extraordinary big wave surfers. And if you don't know Mavericks, Sachi was out there during one of our last big, huge swells out there, literally camera in hand. And we're all like, Sachi. So thank you for that. You all kind of touched on this, but just maybe on a different realm. How do you think your messages are encouraging confidence in women and girls out there? Moles.
I think that girls and women that come onto the platform or they see me go out in the water say they can do it too. Because I'm not always your typical surfer. And I think identifying with that. The other thing is, I think that, you know, being a really good ambassador in the water is a really important thing. Knowing how to stay safe in the water and having good sports personship is really important. So I know that a lot of girls, I taught surfing when I moved to Marin, and I think they saw me in the water and they said, yeah, I can go in there and do that. So.
You had to be it to see it. Thank you. Asha, how about you?
Yeah, I think working on With It Girl has been like the biggest instance of doing this in my life, besides just like taking my friends out surfing who are women and being like, you got this, like you're killing it. But and just like being a cheerleader for other women. But I think through With It Girl, I think what we work on a lot is just building girls' confidence. Like, you can write, you can edit, you can be a photographer, you can be whatever you want. We're going to support you. We're going to edit your stories, even if they're horrible. We're going to make them shine. We're going to work together. Like, we're going to get you to talk to whoever you want to talk to. If you think this person's really cool, we're going to support you. We're going to help you talk to them. We're going to help you interview them, make that connection, build your own resume, build your own skills. I think that's what we're really working on, and making sure that like people who may not otherwise have the opportunity to get this for free, like, we're just here to support as many people as possible and get their stories out there. That's our goal. So I think that's our main mission. I think it's a really beautiful way to uplift other women, whether they surf or not, or they do art or they skate or whatever they do. That's amazing. Just sharing their story and helping them get it out there and helping them develop their skills.
Oh man, I wish I was so woke at your age. I think in my generation, women were still so competitive, and in the workspace, maybe Sachi, you can talk about this as an associate professor, but in the workspace, women did not, by and large, lift one another up. And it's probably why you don't see a lot of women in higher titles, I guess, out there. The exception, surf therapy, we are more women than men, and we are all lifting one another up and supporting each other. With It Girl definitely continues that story and reminds us that, you know, we're all here. Like, let's just get along. Sachi, how about you, and just in your world?
Well, how my work has inspired, or what?
But maybe building confidence in those, yeah, come in after.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as you just, if you can't be it, you can't see it. And I think just of doing it in a male-dominated field of water photography, or certainly big wave water photography, has it's inspired people actually that I have realized. I've had tell me via social media or at conferences like yours that they are doing what they're doing because they just the simping a photo of me or hearing me talk about is just that's beyond my wildest dreams of what I could inspiring in addition to the work I'm doing as a professor. But if that's that's what it was for me. It was a woman named Judith Sher, who's a body surfer in Beach, that inspired me to get into the bigger surf for the first time and taught me everything. You know, I just try and pay it forward, as I did with A Story for Will, one of their writers, an interview with me, and she happened the night before I was about to go out on a boat at Mavericks, which happened to be probably the best swell ever there. And I just said, why don't you just, I didn't have time for an interview, but I was just like, why don't you just come on, do you want to come on the boat with me? And then she did. And I think it was, I hope it blew my mind that day. So yeah, so I think just the being it, but it's, you know, I think it's also, it needs to be more than that. That's part of why I teach and why I'm happy to be here in this conference. Also, you know, reaching a hand out, as you said, our generation was a lot more protective of our hard-earned spot at, you know, table. And I think Asha's generates more about, you know, opening our arms and reaching and bringing people in. And I think that's what stories can do, and communities like With It Girl can do. I think it's what this conference can, the more opportunities we have to do that. Hopefully there will be a day when it's all women in the lineup. It is in Santa Cruz and other places. There's probably days like that, but I look forward to the day when that is everywhere.
Woo! Sachi, I saw you speak at one of the Evolve summits for the Inertia, and I have been sort of a fangirl ever since. But I really love that someone last year, Tamala Lewis, actually in our all-women panel, talked about being invited to the table. And what she said was, in case you missed it, is if you're not invited to the table, build your own table and build it longer and bigger and invite every girl you know. So thank you for joining us at the table, ladies. Woo! I don't know if there's any questions you want to come up. I can't say thank you enough. I know it's early in California. We may have a couple questions. I'm not doing the questions.
We do.
Good. Elena's doing the
I come and join you.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I will come see you in California. The fact that I live near these gorgeous women, I've never been by them, it's terrible. All right. Go.
Yes, so we have a very good question here on our Hoover app. We've heard a lot about how women and girls can support each other, right? But one of the questions on Hoover is, what can men do to support our sisters, mothers, and daughters in our sport and lifestyle of surfing?
Woo! Asha.
We've actually talked a lot about this at With It Girl, and you can see on our website, if on our homepage, we actually have a little statement. It says that we're not limited to women or people who identify as women being involved. Our goal is to lead from a girl-centric, a woman-centric point of view, and to include all voices in that, because there are so few women-led platforms out there. So get involved as a man, support, you know, read our stories, share our stories, donate. All those things are really great. And just like cheer a woman on out in the lineup.
Cheer with a woman in the lineup. We love that. Yeah, how about you, Sachi?
Well, also back to what you said, for the record, I will always take a wave that a man gives me. I do not mind if a man gives me a wave. So there's that. You can give a woman a wave. I'm not offended by that personally, but I think, yeah, I mean, I actually, the can't be it if you can't see it thing. I know I have also had men, actually a lot of Asian men have been my biggest source, and I don't think it's an accident. You know, I think that there's, I know that we inspire men as well. So there's that. And then I think just in terms of the training and the knowledge, I just took another woman, is Mav's Curious. I'm calling her, and she's an phenomenal athlete, and she's the one I went body surfing with, and I introduced her to some of the Mavs surfers, and there's just been this real shift. I'd like to think because of the storytelling we're doing, but they were not mansplaining. They were helping her knowledge, and that's a beautiful thing to see. I think also in these times where pressed in these spaces is speaking up and for what is, and for being helpful. And yeah, it just, none of this is going to change. I am doing, in part, I'm doing this film because I think just the simple act of watching one of these women surf these big waves, to any human, but particularly men, to see that just creates a shift in the way they think about what a woman is capable of. And nothing's changed unless we all change. Change means that change means that we change, and so that's the goal.
Ooh, how many questions do we have?
Thanks. We have 2 more questions on Hoover, but I would like to ask the audience here if someone has a question that you would like to ask. No, then I'll ask the ones on Hoover. Okay, this is a fairly long question. I would like to ask if you think it's time for surfing to have its own Me Too. In the UK, surfing has the 3rd highest rate of safeguarding complaints after football and rugby, which are much larger participation sports. Obviously, not all of these will be sexual complaints, but I know many women and girls who have experienced abuse, verbal, physical, and as extreme as rape at all levels. Is this something you would look into or support a movement like this?
Wow.
It's a very long question.
Moles, go ahead.
Whoa. So one of my positions has always been to be in the solution and to present positive change. I, of course, support the Me Too movement, but there's a lot of time spent there, and I feel like we don't have a lot of time, and so it's really important to move it into the solution place. I don't know always how productive it is to point out or scapegoat individuals, so I'm hesitant to do that, especially on our platform, and I think that there's a lot of different narratives and multiple truths in the room. And so I think managing something like that is very complex. So for at least the platform, we really feel that it's just better to bring forward stories and situations that can change narratives in that way. And there are a lot of platforms that are handling Me Too movements, and I think that are also very capable of doing that. The other thing is, I just wanted to point out too, especially around the support from men, is that my experience overall has been a good one, actually, with the guys in the water. And I don't think that that's said enough. And in fact, the first years of With It Girl, we had a lot of men working and guys working at With It Girl. And they were very supportive. So I want to continue to encourage that versus alienate that. So that's, and that's always evolving too as well. So.
Well, that's such a good answer. We put you kind of on the spot there. I think the cancel culture is an entire other panel, because there are so many controversial thoughts on the cancel culture. So thank you for that, Moles. We'll move on to our last question because we're sort of quickly running out of time here. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right. So the last question here is, how do we break down the barriers that women face at the surf store when they try to equip themselves for surfing or kite surfing? It's one thing empowering women to get in the water and have a go, but when you go to the shop to buy kit, it can make you feel very quickly that you don't belong. The majority of promo videos are of men participating, small size wetsuits only.
Ooh, Asha, how about you? Go ahead. We'll start with.
Yeah, this is definitely so hard getting in the water, especially when you don't know what you're doing. Like, it's very confusing walking to a surf store. Often the people who work there aren't that helpful. Sometimes they look at you like you don't even, like, they're confused why you're there. I would definitely say if you have a friend who knows what they're doing, bring them. I think we have an article on what to ask for on our website. You can look for it. Yeah, just try to bring someone, I think, and like have a general plan of maybe what you're looking for, or just ask questions, find someone in there who looks nice, be like, hey, need help, and hopefully that's their job though. They'll hopefully be able to help you out. And if you don't know someone yet, maybe make a friend at the beach.
Question, 10 years ago when I first started surfing, it felt like 3/4 of the store were for men. I'm between their outfits, shorts, wetsuits, everything, it felt like that. I feel like it's changed a little, and it's ironic. I think I'm just going to say this, controversial, not to all of the surf brands out there. 90% of your consumers are women. So, because we buy for the men as well. So let's start like addressing some of the women. How about you, Sachi?
Oh, well, it's a phenomenon that kind of blows my mind. I thought I was alone in that fear of going into a surf shop until I heard from Belinda Baggs, who had also felt that. Lauren Hill was talking about that. It's just like, what? You're like at the top of you also feel in these spaces. But I would say go to women-owned surf shops. We have one in California owned by Julie Cox called Traveler. And any of the people in your conference, I'm sorry, we can't see them. Start them.
Yeah, we got a lot of women here. Yeah. That's such a good advice. We lost you, Sachi. Oh, there you are.
Oh, just any writers out there.
Oh,
the more how-tos, like Asha was mentioning on With It Girl, that you can have advice like that, I think is helpful.
And moles. Oh, Asha, go ahead.
Yeah. Also, check out women-owned companies who are like women in the surf industry. Definitely support them. And you can find their websites. You can't always find them in person, but you could always buy online.
That's right. All right, moles, wrap us up.
Oh, I'm just saying that, from when I started surfing, that there are so many new, smaller, women-owned companies. There are more women that are beginning to work in the surf industry and changing the way wetsuits are being designed. It's slow, but it's happening. And I think we're in the next 10 years, we're even less than that. We're going to see a lot of that on this landscape. So we'll try to bring and feature as many of those stories and resources for everyone.
Love that. Woo! Yeah, we had Finister here earlier, and they're making wetsuits for Sri Lankan and other areas that women are not able to get into the water without being fully covered. So it's happening. It's changing slowly, but it's happening.
All right, well, we have reached the end of the panel. Thank you so much to these amazing women. An applause for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kris.
Thank you.
We have
a break.
Yes, Becky's going to introduce you for the next panel.
Oh, is that me?
Woo!
Hello. Hello. I'm in the room. We've got a diminished crowd this afternoon. Where is everyone? Oh, surfers. Oh, just can't rely on surfers, can you? Anyway, we are moving on to our last session for this afternoon. Really exciting. What happens now? Kris. Kris, what happens next?
Oh, do I have a step stool?
I can get you one.
Oh my gosh, who can see me? I promise you, I'm as tired of me as you are. This is going to be very quick, and it's not going to be 30 minutes. But I feel like I need this. And by the way, Briar yesterday was taller than me and kept making fun of how tall she was. I love Briar, but I definitely need a step stool. I'm going to be quick. Thank you, thank you. Look at you putting that together. International Surf Therapy org. Can you hear me? Hi, this is who we are. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to wrap this up very, very quickly. I just want to announce something, but International Surf Therapy org, in case you don't know, our mission, inclusive access to safe surf therapy, and we do envision, and Jamie spoke about this, universal acceptance of surf therapy through prescription. WAVE Project has been the leaders, groundbreaking leaders in working with the NHS to make this happen, and now we just need to see it everywhere in the world. Surf therapy, it was actually, this definition was published last year. Jamie brought this up in the Global Journal of Community Psychology Practice. It was the first ever academic journal that ISTO facilitated intervention combining surf instruction with activities for psychological, physical, and psychosocial well-being. We consider this a working definition. As you notice, it doesn't even include water. Might kind of be missing in our definition. So please share with us your thoughts about a new and evolving definition. Some of these pathways were developed actually kind of at the end of 2017 when we started. And then a declaration was put together. Thank you, Joel and Phil and Jamie and several others that had a hand in our declaration. But understanding through the research, we're sharing wildly and we're advocating for surf therapy. Every single one of you are doing that every day by the work you're doing. Whether it's down on the beach, in the ocean, or social media, however you're doing it, you're advocating, so thank you for that. We've become the #1 resource for surf therapy and an accelerator in the research, and we're super proud of that. I'm not really gonna go over this, but hosting hundreds of guest speakers over the past 5 years. This is our 5th anniversary, and we couldn't be more excited that the WAVE Project hosted such an elegant professional event this year to make it happen, and added another 45, I think, guest speakers, and continues to do so. So thank you, WAVE Project. It's a little brief history. I'm going to share this if anybody wants it, but kind of cool. We've only been here for 4 years. We've grown exponentially, such as this is how many live recordings we've got. We've had over 500 attendees. Of course, again, that's now up because of this year. That doesn't include this year. 89 contributors. That's all of you. We're actually up to 90 on 6 continents. Who knew? We need somebody to start surf therapy in Antarctica. I don't know why nobody's surfing there, but let's get it going. Somebody. All of you. So this survey was taken at the beginning of 2020. Many of you didn't know whether or not you'd be conducting surf therapy, whether a global pandemic would allow. We don't know actually if these numbers are really, really low. I have a feeling that they are, but just an idea of the global collective impact, why it matters. These numbers, as a contributor, you can use these numbers. We talked about this a lot. Funding. Funding is tough. How are you getting funding? As a contributor to ISTO, use numbers like this because you are contributing to the global impact. I think they are significant. Participants, volunteers, we need some more data that's missing. Volunteers, we need to study the volunteers. And over 261 surf therapy practitioners around. And if I'm missing your logo, I'm sorry, send it to me, I'll add it. So we know a global pandemic exacerbated our need for solutions. Our solution is? Yeah, say it louder. Some places that surf therapy is in the media, and the only reason I'm showing this is because I'll tell you what, 10 years ago, it wasn't this much. I actually reduced this by half because the page looked ridiculous. At WAVE Project, if you guys aren't Google Alerts putting in surf therapy, please go Google Alert surf therapy and get your emails. You will get very many, like weekly, maybe daily emails now on surf therapy. And WAVE Project, man, you are making waves because I get wave project emails all the time. Just some of the media out there. Again, I had to take away more than half because it looked silly. Some of our guest speakers, I'm looking forward to getting notes from this year. I just want to remind everybody, as an attendee, if you're out there in the world, we wish you were here. We're sending you love. You will get the recordings. The recordings will be private, though. So just wait for that because I'm going to go on a little journey with Jamie Marshall. So those recordings will take a little bit of time to come through. I hope that's okay. So here's the part that I need notes for because just full transparency, I'm sure everyone knows, I am not a researcher. Thankfully, my talk is coming after Hannah's and Helen's and Jamie's and Inclusi, so I don't have to say a ton. Global surf therapy programs serve a wide range of populations. We all know that. We also know funding is a massive challenge and we need more experts out there studying. We also know there's plenty of data on the health benefits, mentally and physically, of being in nature and being physically active. Hence the $1 million grant. We need more funding. But there is still a need for further research that supports the unique benefits of utilizing the sport of surfing. So we've heard over the past several days of a bunch of new research coming out. That's exciting. I'm just showing this very quickly. The Global Journal that many of you talked about, especially Jamie, this is part of the scoping review. It was published to gain an understanding of the current scientific evidence and help inform further research and practice in the field. Again, Jamie discussing what's missing in the field. The Global Journal also pointed out. It was a reminder that there are several gaps, and that's kind of exciting. Actually, Jamie, you said it earlier. If you haven't seen a topic yet about what you're wanting to talk about, that probably will get published. So write it, do it, research it. So yeah, these are some of the gaps that we found: generalizability, measurement, outcomes, effects, and representation. I think we recognize that first and foremost, so many other countries and so many other populations were not included in the Global Journal. It's hard to do so. Again, we're up to 90. That's amazing. But in order to represent these populations, it really would help us, measure the outcomes and the effects and understanding both immediate and long-term effects in the studies would help us contribute to understanding, of course, the benefits of surf therapy. So our study, this is what our study aims for. It's to build the premise that you, all of you, surf therapy practitioners, you know what's working, what's not working, you know the obstacles, you know the challenges, you know what your participants are feeling, you know what they're thinking, you know what they're experiencing. Jason and Tark, right? They just talked a lot about that. We need help in the various contexts of what's happening out there. Therefore, we need you. This international pilot study will start next year, and it is a study with the practitioners. We know so many of you are out there studying your participants. Please keep doing that. Please keep studying your participants. Please keep studying possibly your volunteers. They're immensely experiencing mental health benefits by volunteering, but we need you. It's a mixed method study, and it will be IRB approved, and of course the outcome and intent will be a practitioner evidence-based international surf therapy guide for training. So that's it. I wanted to be quick because we've all been here for so long, but we really are looking to all of you to help us with this. Again, it's a mixed methods. I'll reach out to you via email. If you'd like to join us, the more the merrier, of course. We all need more data sets in order to prove our methods, but we really want to include your voices in the conversations. We're inviting all of the practitioners to the table. We need your input in order to actually validate any kind of sort of training courses. Not specific, but general, and then we'll have other specific ones along the way. Anyway, thank you so much for everybody. Oh, is there a question? What? Go ahead. What? Go ahead, go ahead.
All right. Okay, so the first question is, as an individual, researcher, clinician, volunteer, surfer, rather than an organization, how can we...
Oh my God. Okay, go. I was like calling Jamie up and Jamie asked it. Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
How can we get involved and support ISTO's mission?
I love you, Jamie. ISTO contributors, Matt, when we first started, Joe can attest to this, we sort of wondered, how do we bring in the contributors? There has to be some kind of bar set. You've got to be legally registered in your county, of your region of the world. And you've got to, we call you contributors because you're contributing to the data. So either collecting data and or conducting research. That's really important. And then insurance. You've got to have insurance. We have to know, yes, safety, fun. We saw some of those images. It's fun, it's safety, it's fun. For us, they go hand in hand. We can't be safe and have fun, and we can't have fun without safety. So really, only 3 criteria. Thank you, Jamie, for asking that. That's a great question. Become an ISTO contributor. We start, I think I had a slide there. I'm sorry, I ran through it. 1,150% growth in 4 years. So people are wanting to come and share wildly, so I love it. Is that our only question?
No.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Jamie.
All the way from Australia. To our fearless leaders, Kris, what are your personal aspirations for surf therapy in 5 years from now? P.S. You rock.
Oh, is that Phil or Joel? Who is that? Joel. What are my personal aspirations for surf therapy?
Yes. And for surf therapy in 5 years from now.
I'm looking at you, Joel. What are my personal aspirations? My personal aspirations are that everybody has the opportunity to experience surf therapy. Jamie touches on this, and I speak about this very often. Surfing is not the same as surf therapy. So surf therapy programs around the globe are creating access and the means for so many of our underserved populations to get to the very expensive surfboards, the very expensive wetsuits, and the very expensive surf instructors. And we are creating more access and means and inclusion and diversity in the water and in the lineup. So my personal goal is that everybody gets to experience this at some time in their life, whether that's as a volunteer, because maybe they surf personally, or they start a surf therapy program. I mean, we want safe, inclusive access to surf therapy, and the only way to do it is to see the sector grow. That is the method. And that's why ISTO exists. Thanks, Joel. I miss you. Mwah.
Thanks, Kris. One more question. Last one.
Everyone's just messing with me. Go ahead.
Could you elaborate a little bit more about the gap representation? The gap representation.
Wait, the gap?
Representation.
Oh, representation.
Mm-hmm. Did I say it wrong? Was my accent wrong?
Wait, the gap in representation. Gosh, okay, so I want to remind you, ISTO website has all of the resources. We've got a very cool evaluation framework Jamie Marshall helped put together, but we also have the Global Journal on there. The Global Journal is so great. Hannah, you're on there. Many people, Suzanne from Surf Project, everyone's on. Hannah, you're on there. There's so many people in this room that are represented in that. That said, working with 90 surf therapy programs, knowing that there are at least, of our 90 contributors, I think there's 25 different populations being served. We heard a lot of them today, yesterday, the day before. Refugees, farmers, first responders in South America and South Korea, of course, children and youth and adults with neurodiversity. There are so many populations being served. Krista out in New Zealand, and actually there's another program in California. They're working with men and women in California that were recently released from prison. There are so many populations that are being considered through surf therapy, and they were not represented in our Global Journal because we could not represent all of them. The Global Journal in the community psychology practice was not the last academic journal. We expect it only to be the first step in a very, very long ladder. So for all of our clinicians out there, you have access to occupational therapy journals, right? Psychology journals, rec therapy, sports psychology. There are so many clinical journals out there. We would love to collaborate with you and put together another academic journal dedicated to the research, because as you heard over the last 3 days, more and more research is coming. And Emma, we miss Emma. We need wave by wave projects in there. We need more of us want to know more about your study, which of course you're going to share with us in November. But for the rest of the world to see that, we want an academic journal to show that. So psychologists out there, therapists out there, let's get another journal together. So yeah, great question. Thank you. Is that it?
That is it.
All right, awesome. Jamie. So there is no proper way to thank everybody enough, and I have spoken a lot. So I'm going to ask a couple people to come up, and Jamie is going to chat. Tom, Becky, Elena, come back up. Katie, please. Some of the people that have helped WAVE Project get it done. Get it done. And Joe Wave, you are not the last, but the first in all of our hearts. Come up, please.
Thank you, Kris. So I'm up here now with my ISTO board hat on. The board at ISTO couldn't be prouder of everything that's gone on in the last couple of days, couldn't be prouder of everything that's gone up in the last couple of months leading up to this. And of course, all that other work that's not associated with this conference. At the board, we often, one of the jobs we have on the board is trying to figure out what the important parts of ISTO are, what's our priorities. And one thing that's been a priority since day one is this conference. The amount of connections, the amount of amazing knowledge sharing and exchanges that go on in these conferences, it blows my mind every day. Actually, me and Hannah were talking about this. Of the academic conferences that we've both been to, a fair few, it is one of the most energized and exciting, and just every talk you're on the edge of your seat. It's fantastic. So I want to just say thank you to a few people. Firstly, Kris, where are you? There you are. Our intrepid leader at ISTO. You've been leading since day one. So many of these projects wouldn't be able to happen without you. You're the thing, the spider in the middle of this web that is pulling us all together. Thank you so much for everything you do. A thank you to someone I can't look in the eye. Thank you to Hoover. Because this is our second time using Hoover. The first time was purely online. This time we've had the mixed in-person and online approach. And I think, at least from my experience, it's been fantastic. It's been really great being able to engage with people in the room, people halfway across the world, people who are currently awake at 3 a.m. in their different countries. So a big thank you to Hoover. And actually a massive thank you to the guys at the back of the room there, the AV team. Still focused on the job. I love it. I've been to quite a few conferences. I've seen lots of adaptations around COVID, and this is one of the smoothest I've ever attended. So thank you so much, guys. And last, certainly not least, Joe, thank you for sort of stepping up and then handing it off to these wonderful people. Becky, Elena, Tom, I know there's many other individuals at WAVE Project who have been supporting on this, but thank you so much for everything you've done. Thank you for making this a reality. Another thing amazing about ISTO conferences is they somehow seem to get better every single year. And this year, that's largely down to you guys. So thank you so much. And there's some other stuff we want to celebrate to sort of bring this conference to a close. And actually, it's not my place as an ISTO board member to do that. So I'd like to pass you that. I'd like to pass the mic on to Katie from the WAVE Project for this last thing to wrap the conference up.
Can I give you this, Jamie, to give to a young man over there? Cool. Well, thank you all so much for being here and stuff. It's very rare we get the opportunity to have so many people in the room which have been part of the journey of the WAVE Project. And there's also very rare opportunities where in the last couple of years, we've had the opportunity to say thank you. And I've had the pleasure of volunteering for the WAVE Project and working for the WAVE Project. And it's a real pleasure. And one of the kids at the Summer Surf Challenge said to me, I can't put into words the impact the Wave Project has had on my family. And I think when someone says that to you, you stand back and you think about that child, that family, the impact, and you've seen it. And that's thousands and thousands of stories from 11 years of this, Joe. And that idea has spread. And as a team from the Wave Project, we wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to you personally. So many times we say thanks and we pop it in an email, we pop it on a phone call, but to be able to say thank you to you, and may this be the start of many more years of Wave Project, many more thousands of children impacted, and thousands of volunteers impacted as well, because as a volunteer, people get out just as much as the young people, and that's what they say to us. And it's never been measured, but it's true. So your impact is bigger than what we see, bigger than the data, bigger than the smiles. And even just a few weeks ago, I did 3 Freshers' Fairs in the last couple of weeks, trying to recruit volunteers. And at each of those fairs, I had a young person come up to me and say, oh, the Wave Project, the Wave Project. And I was like, oh, cool, this is really interesting. Why are they saying this? And that's because they were students of the Wave Project. So they were referred, some of them, one of them 8 years ago, one of them with Helen Blackman in North Devon, and I popped her a message. And these people are now at university, and one of them's going on to become a teacher, and she's going to come and volunteer with us as well. And that's the rolling impact of it. And it's so much bigger than what we see. It's so much bigger than the stories we've heard over the last few days. And it's an absolute pleasure. So Jamie's got something to pass to you. It's from all the staff and some of the wider community as well, Joe. And if you want to open it now, that'd be fantastic. Becky can help. There's a bow on the front, Joe. So I've just been asked to describe it. So it's a piece of glasswork which has been made by a wonderful lady called Kelly and her mum. And the design work inside is actually Tom's. So if you've been in a shop or you've seen the T-shirts, there's a 10-year anniversary T-shirt which was made. And it's been updated to have the current data on to represent the story of the Wave Project over the last few years. It's got ISTO on there because obviously Joe's been a massive part of ISTO. And hopefully it'll be something you can keep and just as a bit of a thanks.
Well, that's Katie, everyone. That's really super touching, and totally unexpected. Yeah, you're going to make me cry again. I knew you were going to try and get me. I mean, I'm blown away. So thank you. I knew you were all keen to get to the pub, so I won't spend too much time talking. The beach, sorry, then the pub. But no, it's I talked in my talk earlier about being thanked by one of our kids and what that meant to me, and this is means the same. So thanks so much, everyone. And I just say, it's lovely that you give me all this credit, but actually, I'm not just being modest. It is down to everyone here. I think everyone's contributed to this, and so we should all get one of these, really. Thank you.
Hey. So, we were going to attempt a photo down on the beach, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that, just with the pushing tide and the big swell. So we can have a quick group shot up here, maybe on the balcony or something, before we head off. Photo in the pub instead? Photo in the pub? We can do photo in the pub. Photo in the bar. Then the other thing is obviously dinner tonight at 7 o'clock. Please, if you haven't clicked on the app, you're coming. It'd be lovely to have as many of you there. It'd be awesome. That's at 7 o'clock in Newquay, at the Lost Brewing Co. And I'm also going to be opening up the shop in town, the Wave Project shop. More work. More work, you know. Everyone was like, I want to go shopping, Becky. So I'm going to open the shop myself this evening. So I'll meet you all in the pub and then we can walk down to the shop, okay? And then you can do your shopping and then we can go back to the pub. I want to thank two amazing people next to me and Kris. We have spent hours together working, talking. We had to cancel this back in July, you know? So we've been working for the last year on this. And it's meant so much for us all. We are so proud. I can't thank you guys enough. I couldn't have done it without you both. We've worked amazingly as a team, and we hope you guys have all enjoyed the whole 3 days, because I know we have. So thanks to these guys, and thanks to Kris. See you in the pub.